He thought his wife's coldness in bed was because of stress, maybe even low libido. He told himself he could be patient, that marriage was more than sex. But when the nights grew longer and the lies grew bolder, he began to notice the cracks. The perfume, the dresses, the late returns. Then came the truth. She wasn't uninterested at all. She was alive, radiant, reckless, just not with him. I used to think the quiet moments between a husband and wife were supposed to be comforting. The kind of silence where you didn't need words, because presence alone was enough. But lately, the silence between us wasn't soft or familiar. It was sharp, like glass spread over the sheets we barely touched anymore. I stared at the ceiling in the dark, listening to the faint hum of the refrigerator down the hall. Beside me, my wife lay turned away, her breathing even and steady, as though she had already drifted off. I thought about the countless nights we'd ended like this, her body stiff, the distance between us growing, and my own skin burning with an emptiness I didn't know how to fill. She said it was her libido, that she just didn't feel it anymore. Stress, hormone fatigue, whatever explanation she gave that week. And I tried to understand, tried to be patient. I told myself marriage wasn't all about sex, that I loved her for more than that. But lying there in the darkness, I couldn't stop the ache building in my chest, or the hunger low in my body that seemed to taunt me with what used to be. I remember the early years, how she would curl against me in bed, her hand tracing the lines of my chest, her lips brushing against my shoulder before sliding lower. Those memories felt like another lifetime. Now, even when my hand reached for her hip, she flinched, subtle, but enough to let me know the answer was no. Again, that night I whispered, "Good night." She didn't answer. Morning light crept through the curtains, and I found her already dressed for work, standing in front of the mirror. She looked stunning. Silky blouse hugging her figure, pencil skirt showing off the curve of her hips. Her hair was tied back with the kind of careless elegance that came from practice. I watched her slip in earrings, lips parted slightly as she focused. She caught me in the mirror. "What?" she asked, not unkindly but distant. "Nothing. You look nice." Her mouth curved into a polite smile, the kind you give a coworker who compliments your outfit. Then she grabbed her bag. "Big meeting today. Don't wait up." I frowned. "Another late one?" "Yeah, we're closing something important. You know how it is." She kissed my cheek, quick in practice, and was gone. I sat there, staring at the empty doorway. The scent of her perfume lingered in the room, a soft, floral note that always seemed to cling to my clothes after she passed by. My chest tightened, but not in the way it used to when that smell meant passion. Now it was a reminder of something slipping further away. That week blurred into a rhythm. Her coming home late, me eating reheated dinners alone, the silence in bed. I tried not to pry, not to sound insecure. But on Thursday, something shifted. She mentioned, almost too casually, that her boss wanted us to come to a dinner party. With us. I asked, surprised. "Yeah, he thinks it'll be good for me, for my career. Networking and all that." I narrowed my eyes. "Since when do you care about networking outside work hours?" She shrugged. "It's just dinner. Don't overthink it." Her tone was breezy, but I couldn't shake the weight in my gut. I'd never even met her boss. She'd always kept that part of her life separate. Suddenly, she wanted to bring me into it. "All right," I said, trying to keep it light. "I'll wear a tie." She laughed softly, and for a moment I saw a flash of the woman I married. That smile, that curve of her lips that once pulled me across a crowded bar. It stirred something in me I hadn't felt in months. But before I could reach for her, she was already scrolling through her phone. Friday night came. I stood in front of the mirror, adjusting my tie. She emerged from the bedroom in a black dress that clung to her body like a secret only I used to know. My breath caught. "You look—" I started, but the words dried up. Her eyes flicked to me, then away. "Let's not be late." At the restaurant, the air smelled of wine and expensive leather. Her boss was already there, tall, sharply dressed, the kind of man who filled a room with his presence. He shook my hand with a grip that lingered just a second too long, his eyes studying me like I was a resume he wasn't sure he wanted to approve. "You must be the husband," he said, smiling. "She talks about you sometimes." Sometimes. The word sat heavy in my stomach. The dinner passed in a blur of laughter and wine. My wife leaned close to him when she spoke, her hand brushing his sleeve more than once. I told myself I was imagining it, that it was just work charm. But every glance, every little touch, left me colder than the untouched steak on my plate. When we got home, she undressed silently, slipping into bed without a word. I lay beside her, staring into the dark. My body ached to touch her, to feel that fire we once had, but the silence pressed down on me again, suffocating. Only this time, it wasn't just silence. It was suspicion, and I couldn't shake the thought that her low libido might not be the truth at all. The morning after that dinner, I woke with a weight in my chest that wouldn't leave. My wife moved around the bedroom quickly, efficient as always, gathering her clothes and phone before I'd even managed to shake the sleep from my eyes. She was humming to herself. That detail struck me harder than it should have. She never hummed anymore, not for me, not in our home. "Big day?" I asked, my voice thick from the night. She glanced over her shoulder, smiling just faintly. "Always." Then she pressed lipstick to her lips in the mirror, fixing the edges with practiced precision. "Don't wait up tonight. It'll be late again." That refrain, "Don't wait up," had become her signature. I almost wanted to record it, just to prove how often she said it. Every week, sometimes 3, for nights. If she wasn't too tired for sex, she was too tired to come home before midnight. And if she did make it home, she slipped straight into bed without a glance in my direction. I tried to be understanding. I reminded myself of every article I'd read about stress-killing intimacy, about women needing patience and emotional space. But patience had its limits, and I could feel mine thinning each time I lay awake alone, listening to hum of the refrigerator and the creak of pipes in the silence of a bed we no longer shared the same way. That evening, when I suggested we go out together, just the two of us, maybe dinner, maybe a walk along the river, she laughed. Not cruelly, but dismissively. "I can't. I told you we've got reports due. You'd be bored out of your mind if you saw the amount of spreadsheets we're buried under. Then maybe a weekend away?" I pressed. "It's been months since we did anything just for us." She paused, brushing powder along her cheekbones, eyes fixed on the mirror. For a second, I thought she'd soften, that she'd remember the last time we took a trip and how alive we felt then. But she only sighed. "I'm just not in that place right now. Honestly, I don't even think about sex anymore. Not with anyone. It's like my body doesn't want it. I'm sorry." The words landed like stones. "Not with anyone." She emphasized it like she knew what I feared, but her tone was practiced, too smooth, as if she'd rehearsed it. I nodded anyway, swallowing my doubt. 2 nights later, I found myself eating reheated pasta while her empty chair sat across from me. My phone buzzed, a message from her. "Working late. Don't wait up." I stared at the screen for a long time before setting it aside. My fork scraped the plate, echoing in the quiet kitchen. This wasn't the life I'd pictured. Marriage wasn't supposed to feel like solitary confinement. At 11, I poured myself a drink and sat by the window, staring out at the streetlights. That's when I saw her. Not directly. Her reflection in the car window, as she stepped out of a black sedan. My breath caught. She was laughing, her hand brushing the driver's arm before she closed the door. She wore a dress I hadn't seen before, low-cut and shimmering under the yellow streetlight. By the time she opened the door, her face was calm, collected, as though she'd come straight from a cubicle full of paperwork. "You're still up?" she asked, hanging her coat. "Yeah." I tried to keep my voice even. "How was work?" She shrugged. "Exhausting. I just want to shower and collapse." I watched her walk past, her heels clicking on the hardwood. The scent of perfume trailed after her, heavier than the one she usually wore to the office. I clenched my glass until my knuckles went white. The next morning, I tested her. "You looked nice last night. That dress, haven't seen it before." Her eyes flicked up, quick and sharp, before she smiled. "Oh, that old thing? Just something buried in the back of the closet." She kissed my cheek, quick as always, and was gone before I could ask more. Her excuses stacked like bricks, walling me out. Every time I reached for her, physically, emotionally, she had a reason. Too tired, too stressed, too distracted. She made it sound like I was selfish for even wanting her, like desire itself was unreasonable. But I wasn't unreasonable. I was starving. One night, I rolled closer in bed, pressing against her warmth. My hand traced the line of her waist, sliding lower. For a moment, she didn't move. My body lit with hope, every nerve awake. Then she sighed, soft but heavy, and shifted away. "Not tonight. Please." Her tone wasn't angry, but it cut sharper than any shout. I withdrew, lying on my back, staring at the ceiling. The silence grew so loud it felt like it might crack me in two. That was when the first real suspicion rooted itself deep inside me. Not just that she didn't want me, but that she wanted someone else. The following week, she mentioned another dinner. My boss is hosting again. He wants you there. I frowned. Why? He barely spoke to me last time. She smirked faintly. He's particular. Likes to size people up. It's good for me if you make a good impression. The words settled uncomfortably. Not for us, for her. As though I were another accessory in her career. Something to polish and present when necessary. That night, lying awake beside her, I realized something dangerous. I didn't just miss her body. I missed us. And if I was right, if her excuses were a mask, then the woman I thought I married might already be gone. I stared into the dark, my chest tight, knowing one truth I couldn't shake. Her low libido wasn't the problem. It was the excuse. I can't say I was surprised when she brought up the second dinner. By then, I'd already noticed a pattern. Long nights, unexplained smiles, perfume that didn't belong to our home, and clothes that appeared out of nowhere. But still, when she leaned against the kitchen counter one evening and said, "He wants us over again," it landed with the weight of inevitability. I looked up from the plate I was rinsing. "Your boss." She nodded, sipping from a glass of red wine she hadn't offered to share. "He's hosting another dinner. This time, it's more personal. Small group, spouses included." My gut twisted, the way she said spouses included, as if the words were an afterthought, like she was checking a box. "Why me?" I asked. "You've managed fine all these years without parading me around." She set her glass down carefully. "It's good for appearances. For my career. And..." She hesitated, her eyes flicking to mine before sliding away. "I want you there." It sounded like a lie dressed in silk. Still, I forced a nod. "Fine. Just tell me what I'm walking into." Her lips curved faintly, relief flashing across her face. "Don't overthink it. Just wear the blue suit. You look good in that." The night of the dinner, I stood in front of the mirror, tugging at the cuffs of that damn blue suit. I studied my reflection, trying to see myself the way she might, the way her boss might. Was I respectable enough? Charming enough? Or was I just another prop in whatever show she was running? When she emerged from the bedroom, my breath stalled. She wore a red dress this time, tight, shimmering, with a slit that revealed more of her thigh than I'd seen in months. My body reacted instantly, heat rising through me. I wanted her right then, to pin her against the wall, to remind her that she was mine. But the look in her eyes wasn't for me. It was a challenge, daring me to keep up with whatever game she was playing. "You're staring," she said lightly, slipping earrings into place. "Can you blame me?" My voice came out rougher than I meant. She smirked, then brushed past me, her perfume swirling in the air like a hook pulling me forward. The dinner was at an upscale townhouse, the kind where everything gleamed just enough to remind you that you couldn't afford it. Her boss greeted us at the door, his smile wide, his handshake firm, his eyes locking onto mine with a glimmer I didn't like. "Glad you could make it," he said, though it sounded more like a test than a welcome. The table was small, intimate, just 6 of us. Wine flowed freely, conversation bubbling with a kind of forced brightness. My wife leaned in close to her boss, her laughter ringing like a bell. She touched his wrist once, then again, subtle, casual, practiced. My jaw tightened each time. At one point, he turned to me. "So, what you do?" I gave him the short version of my job, watching his expression carefully. He nodded politely, then glanced at her. "He's modest, isn't he?" She smiled. "He is. But that's one of the things I love about him." Love. The word fell flat, hollow in her mouth. She hadn't looked at me once when she said it. By dessert, I felt like I was suffocating. Her hand rested lightly on her boss's arm as they whispered about some project I didn't care to understand. My glass was nearly empty when his gaze flicked to me. "You should come by the office sometime," he said smoothly. "We'll show you what she's been working on. Impressive stuff." I raised a brow. "Office tours for spouses? Is that common practice?" He chuckled, unbothered. "For the right ones." My wife's laugh followed his, soft and conspiratorial. My stomach twisted. On the ride home, silence filled the car. She stared out the window, her legs crossed, the slit in her dress flashing glimpses of skin that had once been mine to touch. My body ached with a memory, with the tension of wanting her, but I forced myself to focus. "You seem cozy with him," I said finally. She turned her head slowly, her expression unreadable. "Don't start." "I'm not starting. I'm asking, do you usually touch your boss like that?" Her lips pressed into a thin line. "It's called networking. It's called..." keeping people comfortable. Don't twist it into something it's not. Then why bring me? Why suddenly care about showing me off? Her eyes narrowed. Because it matters. Because he notices things. And because I asked you to trust me. Trust. The word felt poisonous now. Still, I nodded, unwilling to ignite a fight we couldn't finish in the confines of the car. That night, I lay awake long after she drifted into her usual silent slumber. My body was restless, hard with desire that had no outlet, my mind replaying the way she leaned into him, the way her lips curved when he spoke. I reached for her once, just a test of maybe. Tonight, she'd want me. My hand grazed her hip. She shifted away instantly, murmuring, "Not now. Please." The rejection burned worse than usual. Not because it was new, but because I'd seen the truth in her eyes at that dinner. The fire she claimed she'd lost hadn't burned out. It just wasn't for me anymore. The days after that second dinner blurred into a haze of small details I couldn't ignore. They were little things at first, subtle, almost meaningless on their own, but once I started watching, I couldn't stop. And every detail seemed to point to one truth. My wife was hiding something. On Monday morning, I noticed the shoes. Black heels with a glossy finish. Expensive. The kind she used to scoff at when she said we needed to save more. They weren't in her usual lineup by the door, yet she slipped them on casually, as if they'd always been there. "No," I asked, sipping my coffee. She glanced down at them and shrugged. Had them for a while. But she hadn't. I knew her wardrobe as well as my own. I wanted push to ask when she bought them why she hadn't mentioned it, but her tone was so smooth, so dismissive, that I let it drop. Then came the perfume. Stronger, richer, something floral and sweet that clung to her hair and skin when she came home late. It wasn't the subtle scent she wore to the office. This was something else, something designed to leave an impression. "You change perfumes?" I asked one night. Her eyes flicked up, quick and sharp, before she smiled. Just trying something new. She left it at that. Our bed remained cold, a battleground of silence. Each night, I found myself reaching, testing, hoping. My hand on her thigh, my lips against her neck, my body pressed close. Each time, she pulled away with the same gentle, final words. Not tonight. What gnawed at me wasn't only the rejection. It was a feeling that she wasn't uninterested in sex at all. She was uninterested in sex with me. The thought stung like fire. My body remembered what it was like, how she used to arch against me, nails raking down my back, her moans filling the room until we collapsed in sweaty exhaustion. I ached for that, not just the release, but for the connection. And yet, when I looked at her now, dressed in new clothes and shimmering perfumes, I felt like I was staring at a stranger who had locked away the woman I married. Wednesday night, I caught another crack. She breezed through the door at 11:30, her cheeks flushed, eyes bright, not the look of a woman drained from spreadsheets and late-night deadlines. I tried to keep my tone casual. "Rough night at the office?" She smiled faintly, almost coy. Something like that. My eyes lingered on her dress. Low-cut tight, one I hadn't seen before. Didn't know office nights required cocktail dresses. She froze for half a second, then laughed, shaking her head. "Oh, this just felt like dressing up a little. You should be happy I'm not coming home in sweatpants." Her deflection was flawless, but the hesitation was all I needed. Later that night, I heard her phone buzz on the dresser. She was in the shower. Against my better judgment, I glanced at the screen. A message preview glowed faintly. "Had a great time. Same place next week?" No name, just a number I didn't recognize. My chest tightened as I stared, torn between unlocking it and shoving it back down. By the time she emerged wrapped in a towel, I'd forced myself back into bed, feigning sleep. She slid in beside me, her skin warm, smelling of soap and that new perfume. My body stirred instantly, instinctively. I shifted closer, brushed my hand down her side. She stiffened. "Not now," she murmured. Her words cut deeper this time, because all I could think about was that message about her flushed cheeks and the dress she swore was nothing. Not now, for me, but for someone else? Over breakfast the next morning, I studied her. She looked radiant, bright-eyed, lips curved in a way I hadn't seen in months. It wasn't just confidence. It was the glow of a woman who felt desired. And it wasn't me who made her feel that way. I set my mug down. "You've been different lately." Her eyes narrowed slightly. "Different how?" "New clothes. New perfume. Coming home late. Smiling more than usual." She tilted her head, her tone carefully neutral. "You say That like it's a crime to take care of myself. That's not what I mean. I lean forward. I miss us. I miss the way we used to be. For a moment, something flickered in her eyes. Guilt, maybe, or pity. Then it vanished, replaced with that same distant mask. I told you, she said softly, almost tiredly. It's not you. It's me. My libido's just not there anymore. Please don't push me. She touched my hand and lightly, almost tender, but it felt rehearsed, like a gesture meant to calm, not to connect. That day at work, I couldn't concentrate. My mind replayed every moment, every lie, every smile that wasn't meant for me. The message on her phone echoed in my skull. Had a great time. When I got home, she was already dressed for another late night. This time, a sleek black dress with a slit up the side. She looked breathtaking, and my body betrayed me with desire. Another big meeting? I asked, my voice flat. Her smile was quick, practiced. Yeah, don't wait up. I watched her leave, the click of her heels fading down the hall. And for the first time, I knew with certainty that the cracks in her mask weren't small anymore. They were widening, spreading, and soon the whole thing would shatter. It's strange how confirmation often comes not from the people closest to us, but from the edges of our lives, the ones who aren't supposed to matter. For me, it was Mrs. Collins, the neighbor 2 doors down. She's the type who waters her plants twice a day and notices every car that pulls up on the street. A harmless woman, usually more concerned with roses and recycling bins than with people's marriages. It was late Thursday when she caught me outside, fumbling with the trash can. She smiled politely, then leaned closer, her voice low. Your wife looked lovely the other night. I blinked. The other night? She nodded. Yes, when she got into that car. Black sedan. Around 10. I almost didn't recognize her. So dressed up, I told Harold it must have been some kind of fancy party. My stomach lurched. I forced a smile. Right. Work function. She seemed satisfied with that answer, giving a little nod before retreating. But her words echoed all the way back into the house, pounding in my skull. So dressed up, fancy party. Not a cubicle, not a spreadsheet. A party. That night, I couldn't focus on anything. I sat at the dining table with my laptop open, pretending to work, but my eyes kept sliding toward the clock. 10, 11, midnight. She hadn't come home yet. When I finally heard the key in the lock, my chest tightened. She stepped inside, radiant, cheeks glowing, hair loose around her shoulders. Her dress shimmered under the hallway light, short, sparkling, something I had never seen before. You're still up? She asked, smiling faintly. I nodded, my throat dry. Yeah, thought I'd wait. She leaned down, kissed my cheek lightly, then headed toward the bedroom. I caught the faintest whiff of alcohol and perfume mixed with something else. Sweat, smoke, laughter that clung to her like a memory I was invited into. Long meeting? I asked, my tone sharper than I intended. She froze for a second, then glanced back. Yeah, sorry, I'm exhausted. And that was it. No explanation. No detail. Just exhaustion. The following day, I couldn't shake the itch under my skin. At lunch, I called one of her colleagues, a woman I'd met once at a Christmas party. Casual, I told myself. Just checking in. So, I said carefully, you guys working late a lot these days? She laughed softly. Not me. I get out when I can. But your wife, she's something else. Always off to some event or dinner with the boss. Honestly, I don't know how she keeps up. My grip on the phone tightened. Events. Yeah, parties, mixers, whatever you want to call them. Must be nice, right? Most of us just go home to Netflix. She chuckled again. Anyway, she's ambitious. Good for her. I ended the call quickly, muttering something about being late for a meeting. But my head spun. Parties, mixers, dinners, none of which had ever included me, except those 2 dinners with her boss. So why the act at home? Why the constant excuse of low libido? The insistence that sex was a last thing on her mind? Unless it wasn't. That night, she came home past midnight again. I was waiting in the living room this time, the lamp casting a dim glow across the couch. She jumped slightly when she saw me. You scared me, she said, laughing lightly as she kicked off her heels. Where were you? I asked. She blinked. Work. I told you. Work doesn't smell like vodka and cigarette smoke. My words cut through the air. Her jaw tightened. You're imagining things. Am I? I stood, closing the distance between us. Her dress was slinky, silver, clinging to every curve. My body reacted instantly, traitorously, even as my mind burned with anger. I reached out, fingers brushing the hem of her dress, the heat of her thigh beneath. "You look incredible," I said, my voice low. "But don't tell me this is what you wear to look over spreadsheets." She froze, her breath catching. For a moment, I thought she'd given, that maybe the tension would break in our favor. But then she stepped back, pulling away. "Don't," she whispered. "Not now. Not now." The same phrase every time. But this time it rang hollow, stripped of meaning, because I knew she wasn't saying not now to sex. She was saying not now with you. I lay awake long after she slipped into sleep beside me. My mind churned with Mrs. Collins' words, with the colleague's casual comment, with the smell of alcohol and perfume that wasn't mine to claim. The whispers had become louder than her silence, and now I couldn't ignore them. Something was happening behind my back, something that didn't fit into her script of exhaustion and low libido. And if I wanted the truth, I was going to have to start watching her more closely. Because one thing had become painfully clear. My wife's nights didn't belong to me anymore. It's one thing to suspect, to string together whispers and late nights into a story your mind builds for survival. It's another thing entirely to see it with your own eyes. By the time the following Friday came, I couldn't take the uncertainty anymore. Her excuses had piled too high, her masks too polished. I needed proof. I needed to stop doubting my sanity. So when she slipped on yet another new dress, black satin this time, cut low across her chest, and told me not to wait up, I smiled, kissed her cheek, and watched her leave. Then I grabbed my keys and followed. Her heels clicked against the pavement as she walked down the block. I stayed back, my heart hammering so loud I was certain she'd hear it. A sleek black sedan pulled to the curb. Not a cab too polished. The driver opened the door with a small bow, and she slid inside like she'd done 100 times. I tailed the car at a safe distance, every nerve in my body alive. It wound through the city, past office buildings and restaurants, finally pulling up outside a private club tucked between two glass towers. No sign, no name, just a line of velvet rope and a pair of men in suits checking names at the door. She stepped out, radiant under the streetlight, laughter spilling from her lips as her boss appeared at her side. He placed a hand on her back, guiding her inside. She didn't flinch. She leaned into it, my chest constricted. All the air seemed to drain from my lungs. I parked a block away and approached on foot, blending into a small group of partygoers. The bouncers waved them through, barely glancing at me. Inside, the air was thick with perfume, champagne, and the thrum of bass. Women in glittering dresses drifted from table to table. Men in tailored suits leaned close, whispering, laughing, touching. And there she was, my wife. She stood by the bar, a glass of wine in hand, her boss close enough that his breath stirred her hair when he spoke. She laughed at something he said, tilting her head, her fingers grazing his sleeve. Her body language was electric, open, alive, nothing like the cold shell I shared a bed with. I froze, every muscle locked in place. This wasn't stress. This wasn't hormones. This was desire, the very thing she claimed she no longer had. And it wasn't for me. I lingered in the shadows, nursing a drink I didn't taste. My eyes never left her. She moved with ease, gliding through groups, her hand brushing shoulders, her smile wide and intoxicating. She looked free, unburdened. At one point, a man approached her, a stranger in a gray suit. He leaned in, whispered something in her ear. She laughed again, that sound that used to belong to me, and then she touched his chest lightly, a casual intimacy that made my stomach twist. Her boss didn't object. He watched, smiling, as though it were all part of the game. My body betrayed me in that moment. Watching her, I wasn't just angry, I was aroused. Desire and fury twisted together in a knot that left me shaken. She was breathtaking, magnetic, every curve of her body drawing eyes in the room. And I wanted her. God help me. I wanted her more in that moment than I had in months. But she wasn't mine anymore. Not here. Not tonight. I left before she saw me. I couldn't watch anymore. Back home, I poured a drink and sat in the dark, the ice clinking against the glass. Hours later, I heard the door unlock. She slipped inside quietly, heels in her hand, as if she thought I was asleep. She didn't see me in the living room shadows. I watched her tiptoe past, her dress clinging to her body, her cheeks flushed with wine and laughter. She looked alive, more alive than she ever was with me. When she vanished into the bedroom, I sat there, numb. The truth was out now. There was no libido problem, no exhaustion. It was a lie, a cover, a curtain hiding the life she lived outside these walls. And now I knew I wasn't just losing my wife. I'd already lost her. I couldn't unsee it. Every time I closed my eyes, there she was, my wife, laughing at her boss's whispered words, her hand brushing his arm like it belonged there. The image burned into my brain until sleep became impossible. But knowing the truth didn't free me. It shackled me, because I couldn't just confront her, not without proof she couldn't twist. And I couldn't just leave, not yet. I needed to understand. The following days passed like slow poison. She was cheerful in the mornings, humming as she dressed, her skin glowing. At night, she collapsed beside me in bed, lips closed, body distant. I wanted to demand answers, but each time I opened my mouth, she cut me with a single word: tired. It was Sunday when she dropped the next piece into place. Her phone buzzed while she cooked. She glanced at it, smiled faintly, then set it face down. I caught the curve of her lips, the softness in her eyes. Not the look of a woman exhausted by spreadsheets, the look of a woman desired. Big week ahead? I asked casually, leaning against the counter. She nodded. My boss wants us to have dinner again. You're coming, of course. I frowned. Again, her smile sharpened just slightly. It's important. He likes you. Says you bring balance. Balance. The word felt wrong. What's that supposed to mean? She shrugged, turning back to the pan. Don't overthink it. Just be yourself. That's all he asks. But it wasn't all. I could feel it, lurking between her words, behind her polite smile. There was a game here, and I was part of it, whether I wanted to be or not. The night of the dinner, she dressed like she was going to war. Red lips, high heels, a dress that clung to her body like a second skin. My throat went dry just looking at her. I wanted her, badly, the hunger tearing through me. But she slipped past me with a quick kiss. All business, all control. At the townhouse, her boss greeted us like old friends. His handshake lingered, his eyes glinting with something I couldn't place. We ate, drank, laughed at stories I didn't care about. But under the surface, tension coiled tight. At one point, he leaned toward me, wine glass in hand. You know, he said smoothly, your wife is remarkable, not just at work. She has presence. I forced a smile. I'm aware. He chuckled, eyes flicking to her. I can see why she keeps you close. Stability is a rare thing. The words slithered under my skin. Stability. Not love. Not partnership. Stability. As if I were a piece of furniture holding up her double life. Later in the evening, I excused myself to the bathroom. When I returned, I stopped just short of the dining room. They hadn't noticed me yet. Her boss leaned close, his hand brushing her knee beneath the table. She didn't pull away. Instead, she smiled, her lips parting slightly as she whispered something I couldn't hear. His laugh was low, satisfied. My stomach knotted. I stepped back before they saw me, forcing my breathing steady. The ride home was silent. She stared out the window, her profile calm, lips curved in a secret smile. My body was alive with conflicting impulses, rage, desire, disbelief. Finally, I said, what exactly are we doing here? These dinners, these parties, why do you want me there? She turned, her eyes cool, controlled. Because it matters. Because he notices. And because I need you to play along. Play along with what? She didn't answer, just smoothed her dress over her thighs and looked away. That night, when we slipped into bed, I tried again. My body was aching for her, not just with lust, but with desperation. I reached for her, my hand on her hip, my lips brushing her shoulder. She stiffened. Not now, she whispered. But this time, I didn't pull away. I held her tighter, my voice low. Then when, tell me when. She turned, her eyes flashing in the dark. For a moment, I saw something raw there, guilt, maybe, or fear. But just as quickly, the mask slid back into place. When the time is right, she said softly, you'll understand. Then she rolled away, leaving me hard, restless, and furious in the dark. I lay awake for hours, my mind racing. She wasn't just cheating. She was weaving me into something, setting me up like a pawn on a board. I wasn't the type to snoop. And
that
the
going
worst
through
part,
your partner's
I
things
wasn't
was a
sure if I
betrayal
wanted to
worse than
stop her,
suspicion itself.
because the more
But
I
after
saw,
weeks of lies and
the more I
whispers,
wanted her.
the line
The
between
more I
betrayal
ached
and
for the
survival
vibes she gave
blurred.
to everyone
If
but
she could
me.
keep secrets,
And I'd do anything
why
to take
couldn't
it
I
back.
uncover them? It started with her laptop. She left it open on the counter one morning, a half-finished email glowing on the screen. She was still in the shower. My pulse thundered as I slid into the chair, fingers hovering above the trackpad. The inbox looked ordinary enough. Spreadsheets, reminders, office chatter. But then I saw a folder labeled personal. My gut twisted. Clicking it felt like crossing a boundary. But I did it anyway. Inside were drafts. Emails never sent, or maybe sent and saved. Can't wait to see you again. Last night was unforgettable. Tell him whatever you need to. He'll believe you. I sat back, heart pounding. The words blurred, but the meaning was clear. These weren't the writings of a woman whose body no longer craved intimacy. These were the confessions of someone who had found it elsewhere, and plenty of it. That night, I watched her carefully as she came home. She was radiant again, her skin glowing, her laughter quick and bright. She kissed me lightly on the cheek, humming as she slipped into the bedroom. I stared after her, bile rising in my throat. I couldn't stop myself. Later, while she showered, I grabbed her phone. It was locked, of course. But on the nightstand, I noticed something. A second phone, slim, metallic, tucked beneath a book. My chest tightened. I picked it up, thumb brushing over the screen. No password. It opened instantly, revealing a world I wasn't meant to see. There were photos, dozens of them. My wife in shimmering dresses, champagne in hand, leaning against strangers in dimly lit rooms. Her eyes burned with energy, her smile wide, wild. One photo showed her laughing on her boss's arm, his hand resting too low on her back. Another caught her kissing someone's cheek, lips dangerously close to their mouth. I scroll further. Videos, snippets of music, laughter, clinking glasses. Her voice in the background, playful, flirty. Not once did she look like the woman who crawled into bed beside me whispering, "Not tonight." When she emerged from the bathroom, hair damp, towel wrapped tight around her, I was still holding the phone. I should have hidden it. I should have waited. But rage overrode sense. "What is this?" I asked, my voice low, trembling. Her eyes widened, just for a fraction of a second. Then the mask slid back. "Where did you get that?" "Don't play dumb. It was right here." I shook the phone in my hand. "All these parties, all these men, this is your low libido?" She crossed the room slowly, her towel clutched at her chest. "You went through my things. That's what you're worried about? That I looked? Not that you've been lying to me." Her lips pressed into a thin line. "It's not what you think." "Then what the hell is it?" My voice cracked. "Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you've been fucking everyone but me." She flinched at the word, but didn't deny it. Instead, she sighed, sitting on the edge of the bed. For the first time, she looked tired, the mask slipping slightly. "You wouldn't understand," she whispered. "Try me?" She stared at the floor, silent for a long moment. Then she shook her head. "I can't. Not yet." I wanted to press, to scream, to demand the truth. But something in her tone froze me. She wasn't just hiding an affair. She was hiding something bigger, something she wasn't ready to reveal. That night, we lay in silence again, her body turned away, her breathing steady. My mind raced with the images from her phone, the dress, the champagne, the laughter that wasn't mine. I realized then that she was living two lives. One with me, quiet, cold, full excuses. And another without me, wild, vibrant, alive. And the cruelest part? She had chosen to give the fire of her second life to strangers, while leaving me starving in the first. Over the next few days, I couldn't unsee it. Every time she walked out the door, dressed to kill, I saw the photos in my head. Every time she smiled at her phone, I imagined the drafts in her inbox, words meant for someone else. The mask she wore at home no longer fooled me. It was paper thin, cracking at the edges, and I knew it was only a matter of time before it collapsed completely. The question was, when it did, would I be ready? The silence between us had become unbearable. It wasn't the gentle quiet of two people comfortable together. It was thick, suffocating, like a wall of smoke that choked every word I tried to breathe out. After discovering her second phone, after seeing those photos, I couldn't look at her without feeling heat rise in my chest. Anger, desire, betrayal, all tangled together. By Thursday night, I couldn't take it anymore. She came home late again, slipping off her heels like she'd rehearsed it.
Her dress shimmered under the hall light, clinging to her body in ways that made my throat dry. I wanted her. God help me, I still wanted her. But the thought of where she'd been, who had touched her, who had laughed into her ear, made my stomach turn. "You're late," I said, my voice flat. She glanced at the clock. "Am I?" "Don't play dumb." I stood from the couch, crossing the room. "Where were you?" Her eyes flicked to mine. "Cool, practiced. Work, dinner. You know how it is." "No, I don't know how it is." I snapped. "I don't know why you keep lying to me. I don't know why you come home smelling like champagne and smoke, wearing dresses I've never seen, while telling me you don't have the energy for sex. I don't know why your boss's hand is on your back when you think I'm not looking." Her lips parted, just slightly. A flicker or something. Surprise, maybe, crossed her face. Then the mask returned. "You're imagining things." "Stop." My voice cracked. "Don't do that. Don't make me feel crazy." I saw the photos. "On your phone." Her breath caught. She froze, the mask slipping for the briefest second before she lowered her eyes. "You had no right to look." "I had every right," I growled. "You're my wife. Or at least you're supposed to be. But instead of coming home to me, you're out there, what? Playing some game with your boss? With strangers?" Her silence was answer enough. "Say something," I demanded. Finally, she lifted her eyes to mine. They were colder than I'd ever seen. "You wouldn't understand." "Then make me," I said. "Explain to me why my wife has no libido at home but somehow finds the energy to dance and laugh and drink half the city under the table. Explain why you're alive out there but dead in here." Her jaw tightened. She hesitated, and then, almost in a whisper, "Because I don't want you to see that side of me anymore." The words hit like a punch to the gut. "What?" She looked away, her fingers clutching the hem of her dress. "It's not about not wanting sex. It's about not wanting it with you. Not in this life we built. You wouldn't understand what it feels like to let go, to not be the wife, the professional, the picture-perfect partner. With you, everything has to be stable, controlled. But with them," she trailed off, shaking her head. My stomach twisted. "With them what? You can be yourself." Her silence was confirmation enough. I laughed bitterly, the sound harsh in the quiet room. "So all this time, you've been telling me you can't, that you don't feel it, that it's gone. But the truth is you've been giving it to anyone but me." "Don't twist it," she snapped suddenly, her voice sharp for the first time. "It's not about anyone. It's about me." "No," I shot back. "It's about lies, about manipulation, about setting me up like some puppet at your boss's dinners while you sneak out to live a second life." Her eyes narrowed. "You don't know the whole story." "Then tell me." I pressed. "Right now. No more excuses. No more, not now. Tell me what the hell you've been doing." For a moment, I thought she would. Her lips parted, her eyes softened, the mask slipping to reveal the woman I once knew. But then, just as quickly, she closed it all off again. "You'll find out soon enough," she whispered. "Just trust me." Trust. The word felt like acid in my mouth. That night, she slid into bed without another word. I lay awake beside her, my body burning with desire and rage. I wanted to reach for her, to claim her, to remind her who she belonged to. But I couldn't, not after her confession, however half-formed it was. I stared into the dark, fists clenched, knowing two truths that would haunt me until morning. First, my wife hadn't lost her passion. She'd only hidden it from me. And second, she was preparing me for something I wasn't meant to understand until it was too late. The days after our confrontation felt like living in a holding pattern, circling endlessly above some storm I knew would tear everything apart once we descended. She didn't mention the phone again. She didn't deny what I'd said, but she didn't confess either. Instead, she acted like nothing had happened, humming while she made coffee, slipping into new dresses, leaving late, returning later. It was maddening. And yet, her words haunted me. Not about not wanting sex. Not in this life we built. With them, I can let go. That phrase repeated in my head like a curse. I tried to work, tried to eat, tried to sleep, but all I could see was her glowing in those photos, alive in ways she never was with me. Friday night, she announced another dinner. "He asked for both of us," she said casually, applying lipstick in the mirror. I stared at her reflection. "So I'm still useful?" She met my eyes in the glass, her expression unreadable. "You're my husband. Of course you're useful." The word stung. Useful. Not loved. Not wanted. Useful. I almost told her no. Almost said I wouldn't play along anymore. But curiosity outweighed pride. If she was weaving me into something, I needed to see it, to know what role she had written for me. The dinner was smaller this time. Just 4 of us. Her, me, her boss, and another woman whose name I instantly forgot. The atmosphere buzzed with something unspoken. Wine flowed, conversation light, but edged. Her boss leaned close to me at one point, his hand heavy on my shoulder. "You know," he said, his voice low, "your wife is extraordinary. I hope you appreciate that." I forced a smile. "I do." He studied me for a beat, his eyes sharp. "Good, because she's been preparing you." My chest tightened. Preparing me for what? But he only raised his glass, dismissing the question with a grin. On the ride home, I couldn't hold it in. What did he mean, preparing me? She turned, her eyes calm. "Steady, you'll understand soon enough." I slammed my fist against the steering wheel. "Stop saying that. I'm your husband, not some pawn in a game you're playing with your boss. If you want to leave, leave. If you want to fuck half the city, at least have the guts to admit it. But don't drag me along like fool." Her lips parted. For a moment, she looked wounded. Then her voice softened, almost tender. "I don't want to leave you." "Then what do you want?" I demanded. She hesitated, then whispered, "Both." The word chilled me. Both. She wanted the safety of our marriage, the stability I gave her, and the fire of her other life. She wanted me to stand by, to smile at dinners, to wear my blue suit and play the loyal husband while she surrendered herself to someone else's world. That night, in bed, I couldn't stay still. My body burned with desire and rage. She lay beside me, her back turned, her breathing steady. I wanted to grab her, to force her to look at me, to remind her who I was. But instead I lay there, staring into the dark, trapped between 2 truths. I still loved her, and I no longer recognized her. The next morning, I woke to find her already dressed. A short black dress this time, heels in hand. She smiled faintly when she saw me watching. "Don't wait up," she said, slipping out the door. The echo of those words was unbearable. I sat on the edge of the bed, head in my hands, knowing something had to give. I couldn't keep living in this limbo, half husband, half spectator, drowning in lies. And so I realized for the first time that the choice wasn't hers anymore. It was mine. Stay and accept the role she'd written for me, or leave and burn the script to ash. The weekend passed in fragments of silence. She came and went in her new dresses, humming as she slipped into cars that weren't taxis, returning in the early hours smelling of champagne and smoke. I sat in the dark, waiting, wondering what kind of man I'd become. One who watched, who swallowed lies, who let his wife slip further into someone else's arms. By Sunday night, I couldn't bear anymore. She came home at nearly 2, her cheeks flushed, her lipstick smudged, her laugh still clinging to her lips. She stopped short when she saw me sitting in the armchair by the window, drink in hand, the lamp casting shadows across the room. "You're up?" she said carefully. "I've been up all week," I replied, my voice flat. "Waiting for you." She set her purse down slowly. "Don't start tonight." "No," I said, standing. "Tonight, I finish. I can't live like this anymore. Pretending I don't see, pretending I don't know. I followed you. I saw you at the club. I read your messages. I saw the photos. Don't insult me with another excuse." Her face didn't crumble. She didn't beg or even flinch. She just exhaled, almost relieved. "So you know." "Yes," I hissed. "I know. And what I don't know is why. Why keep me here? Why bring me to your boss's dinners? Let me watch you glow for everyone else while you rot in silence beside me at home." She stepped closer, her eyes glinting in the low light. "Because I need you." "Need me?" I laughed bitterly. "You don't touch me. You don't want me." Her hand rose, brushing against my chest. For the first time in months, she touched me with intent. My body responded instantly, hunger flaring so strong it almost erased the rage. She saw it, felt it, and smiled faintly. "I want you," she whispered. "But I want more. I want both worlds. With you, I have safety, stability, a home. With them, I have freedom, desire, fire. Why should I have to choose?" The words cut deep, because they weren't just confession. They were declaration. She wasn't sorry. She wasn't confused. She was telling me the truth at last. She wanted it all, and she expected me to accept it. I stepped back, breaking her touch. Because marriage is a choice. And you made yours the moment you lied to me. Her eyes narrowed. So what, you leave? Walk away? I stared at her, my chest tight. In that moment, I saw two paths clearly. I could stay, become the silent husband she paraded at dinners, living with the scraps of affection she spared me. Or I could walk away, reclaim myself, burn the fantasy of what we once were, and face the pain of starting over. For a long moment, I hesitated. My body still ached for her, still burned with the memory of the woman I had loved, the woman who had once been mine completely. But she wasn't that woman anymore, and maybe she never would be again. I set my glass down with finality. I won't share you. Her lips parted, but I didn't wait for her reply. I grabbed my keys, my coat, and walked out the door. The night air hit me like ice, clearing my head. Behind me, the house stood in silence, the walls that had once held our love now echoing with lies. My chest ached, but there was relief too, like stepping off a burning ship into cold water. I didn't know what tomorrow would bring. Divorce papers, anger, maybe even regret. But for the first time in months, I felt like myself again, because I had chosen. And in choosing, I was free.